Another day, another MMA Guru rant video. I must live a very unhappy life with the amount of things that I have problems with. However, I have a problem with something else, and it rose to my attention after watching the last episode of the Contender Series, okay? Now, I really enjoy the Contender Series. I watch it every single time it's on. It's a very good show, and I feel like the show's concept itself is made to be successful. This is a golden idea. You bring fighters on the show, and to guarantee that they're entertaining, you make sure you pick all of the fun, exciting prospects from around the world in MMA, and you give them like an incentive. If you do well, you'll get signed by the UFC. If you don't, you won't get signed. So the fighters are more likely to put on entertaining fights on this show, and it makes the show very enjoyable, and there's a lot of good talent on the show as well, and it builds up their name value before they get into the UFC. But the problem I have with the Contender Series is not any of the contenders itself or themselves. It's no one on the show, really, but one person on the show. And this person sounds a little bit like this. And I have a problem with this person. Because in my opinion, Gianni The Greek, the betting expert on the Contender Series, intentionally or not, I'm not going to make any accusations here, is draining Contender Series watchers' wallets. He is ransacking their savings. If you are following this man's betting advice, you are losing money at a rapid rate. And in my opinion, when someone does terribly bad at a job where other people's money is on the line, they maybe shouldn't be doing that job anymore. Okay? I'm a predictor of MMA fights on YouTube. I think I get about 66, 67% of fights correct. Usually, I'm doing good and making people money. I pick some good underdogs. I give people decent parlays. Sometimes my lock of the card might be a little bit bad. Who knows? But this man takes the cake. Okay? Gianni The Greek, I'm not joking you here, has such a bad record on the Contender Series, and I'm not just going to make this about his annoying teeth, face, and voice, because that's another thing that I'll get to in this video as well. You couldn't have a worse person being on television to talk to people, because his voice is so annoying, and I can't stand it. Every time he talks, I want to skip ahead to the fights. I don't want to listen to him. And another reason I don't want to listen to him is because he hasn't been doing good recently. Last week, I'm pretty sure he had no correct betting stuff whatsoever. And I know you can base it, 1 week he doesn't do good, oh well. 2 weeks ago, someone took a real tally of how well he's been doing. 0-5 2 weeks ago on the Contender Series. He went 0-5 on that episode. A bad day. Everyone has bad days. That 0-5 record made his grand total of betting lines and betting bets that he put out for people to follow 2-18. 2-18. This is the betting expert that you should listen to, Contender Series viewers, if you want to make some money. And I feel like it's weird, because it's not just he's wrong, making mistakes, oh well. There's like a push by the UFC employees, by the commentators that are on the desk that night, to mention this guy. If you want to make money, go with Gianni. That's what they'll do on the show. Tell us how we can make some money tonight. And he's not making you money. He's losing us money every week. I'm not betting on these. I would never, because I've listened to this guy speak, and I've made my assessment that he has no idea what he's talking about. That's what I've made my assessment of. He has no idea what he's talking about. So I'd never put money on what he thinks. And I think that's one of the main problems. He's a betting guy. If you look into Gianni The Greek's history, he's been employed by this betting agency, that betting agency, this betting company, this betting community, as the guy, the pro bettor that gives out his golden advice for free online if you follow this and sign up to this. And he's been one of those guys. He's been around trying to get this going as like this pro gambling guru for a very long time. And for him to have a record of 2-18 as of 2 weeks ago, you can't intentionally be that bad. In my opinion, you cannot intentionally be that bad. And listen, if he was trying some Hail Marys, you put down $100, you're going to get back about 1,000. If it was that, maybe then I could listen and go, you know what? 2 out of 18, maybe another season he gets 5 out of 18, and you can make a bit of profit if you're not betting too much. Maybe. But he's not. He's doing very massive, like he'll pick Joe Pyfer, and then he'll chuck in a slight favourite on the card, and then he'll chuck in a minus odds, might really like not a massive profit whatsoever, like a reasonably realistic thing to happen of a fight going over 2.5 rounds or something like that. He's not making you crazy money. The normal parlay he does will bring you, you put down 100, you get back 240. Put down 100, get back 250. You know what I mean? He's not doing 100 to get back 1,000, and that's why he's doing so bad and being a bit inaccurate, because he's setting the bar so high to achieve. He's doing really achievable bets that I know people get. I know people that bet on the sport. I watch people's channels that bet on the sport, and that's where I want to bring in how I would fix this problem. James Krause. Please. No annoying voice from James Krause. Normal voice from James Krause. Normal look, normal teeth. But I'm not gonna pile on about the teeth of Gianni The Greek, I'll be honest, because they are annoying and 5 times too big for his face. Yes or no in the comments. If you see a comment that's already mentioned it, like it. Contender Series, let's go to James Krause's corner for your betting advice. Because if you know James Krause, he's got a betting show on YouTube. He's doing his own YouTube channel, and he does it well. And sure, he's not successful, but he's not 2-18. Maybe some weeks he doesn't get it. You know what I mean? But when I listen to the reasons why he's telling you to bet on stuff, I know it's a way more valuable listen than listening to Gianni The Greek. Here's an example of how James Krause bets on fights. I actually know this guy. He was working on this. We had him in the gym once. He's a very good prospect. I've heard from another guy from another gym. We spoke to each other. They said this guy's going to be a future world champion. Watch out for him. And they have him listed as an underdog. He's a hidden talent. You don't know about this guy yet. But I've heard from another gym him telling me that this guy's going to be the next big thing. And he doesn't give out praise that often. I've heard him say that as an example so many times. And I think he had it for like Yasmin, some female strawweight fighter from Mexico or something that came up recently. And she was like a slight favorite in a fight. And he was saying, no, listen, they're touting this girl as the next big thing for women's MMA. And this guy don't give out praise like that. You've got to put your money on her. And it ended up being good. Although a close fight and the other girl ended up being good as well. It ended up being good information, and that's how James Krause will give information. He knows the style matchups, he knows the fighters themselves, and he does his research, and he knows what's good odds, what's bad odds, and stuff like that. Like, he saw... I don't think Johnny Walker was going to beat Kutalaba, because I just pick who I believe is going to win. But James Krause said, no way Johnny Walker's plus 200. So ridiculous. Let's put Johnny Walker in for some money this time. Let's put some money on him. And it ended up being correct. He's good because he knows the fighters, he knows the styles, and he's a UFC veteran himself. He knows the game. He knows how to bet too because he's been doing it for a long time. And he has his own show called The 1% Club with James Krause, where he breaks down betting advice and breaks down fights in general. Gianni The Greek breaks down fights in a way like this. So when you look at the underdog of the fight, he's got a 40% chance of doing it on. And when you go into this, and you see that he's 8 years younger, you gotta think he's gonna have a 70% chance of doing this. And as we know, there's a 45% chance of underdog wins in general. When you factor all of these things, and he doesn't mention styles, he doesn't mention this, or he's mentioning numbers. Like, this ain't tennis. Styles. Who knows more about the fighter? Have you watched their regional fights? Have you actually seen them compete before they go on the show, Gianni The Greek? Before you start plucking out, and as we see, fighters from the Northwest have a 55% chance of winning. So that's going to put the value a little higher. I don't want to hear him talk anymore in general, because it's an annoying voice. But those are the reasons he gives for why he picks fighters. Whereas James Krause knows the fighters. He knows them from this gym. He's heard whispers about them from that gym. And I feel like the UFC, why do they have this guy? If you do badly at any other job where people's money's on the line, you're gone. This guy has been on every season, and I swear he's never done well. And for this season to be 2-18, to not really make you too much money anyway, and you have to listen to his annoying voice and look at his annoying teeth. On top of it, how can you be that bad and still be on the show every week and have the commentators and the host, like Brendan Fitzgerald, talk about you like, if you want to make some money, go with Gianni. Let's go over to our betting expert who's wrong all of the time. And it's not even like it's just a playful thing. Like, he's telling you to go and bet on this. This is your betting advice. If you're going to bet, follow this if you want to make money. And I'm looking at the track record and I'm thinking, man, follow this if you want to lose your money. Because he's losing every week. I could do better. I don't even know too much about betting, which is why I don't get into that too much. I'll tell you who's going to be a good underdog. Like, I'll pick Jeff Neal as an underdog against Vicente Luque. On the same topic of Luque, I picked Bilal Muhammad as a good underdog to beat Luque, even though he lost the first time and stuff like that. Like, I can pick a good underdog here and there. But then, this guy, Gianni The Greek, he doesn't know the fighters. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just using statistics and numbers that just don't apply in MMA because it's that random. You need to talk about who they fought, who they've beat. Like, I had a couple people on my chat the other day, and Gianni The Greek didn't pick this guy, but this is like a weird example. I know it's going to be biased, but people in my chat were talking about Trevor Peek. I know he's an underdog, but I'm picking him as an underdog. Dude, he just beat Kamar Worthy, who's a former UFC fighter himself, Kamar Worthy. He just beat Kamar Worthy by KO. He's an underrated guy, and he's an underdog. We're picking him. I had people in my chat telling me that all week. And then what do you know? He comes up big. I know he had a comeback KO, but he still came up big. I don't hear that kind of research done by Gianni The Greek. I hear, for his breakdown of Malik Lewis, Trevor Peek, the momentum's in his favor. And when you look at guys who have the record that he has, you got to consider that he's going to get it done. And when you look at the fact that he beat a 15-3 opponent, guys who beat opponents of that record are going to have a better chance. They're going to tilt towards the 53% chance of winning. And all this type of stuff. And he goes into that. And, when we look at lightweights, they have a 30% chance of going to decision. And he doesn't really go into the technique or the fighter themselves. He just gives silly advice based on statistics that anyone could read out if they could gather the statistics. And it's very disingenuous to sell him as the moneymaker that's going to make you money every week when consistently he doesn't make you money. Any other job where people's money is on the line, if you consistently lose the money, you lose your job. So, James Krause needs to take this man's job. I truly believe that's what needs to happen. James Krause, he has a show, so he's going to get used to doing this. And also, if you look up on YouTube right now, Nate Diaz, Perfect Punch. Nate Diaz Perfect, there it is. Nate Diaz Perfect Punch. There's a video called The Secret Behind Nate Diaz's Perfect Punch UFC Breakdown. And it's James Krause essentially taking the position of Dan Hardy when he used to do Inside the Octagon. Now, for me, Inside the Octagon was one of the best fight build-up things ever. And they took it away when Dan Hardy left, which was a massive problem for the UFC in my opinion. Because they tried to replace him with Anthony Smith. I think they even tried to replace him with Laura Sanko, and it just wasn't the same. They did some Inside the Octagon episodes without him, with some other guest people coming on to talk about the fights, and it just really wasn't the same at all. I didn't like it at all. It was not the same without Dan Hardy at all. He made that show what it was. And they brought in some co-hosts that just ruined it, and it didn't get any views because of it, compared to Dan Hardy, who would be hitting near 1 million views an episode that he did. Watching James Krause do that breakdown, he's the next best thing behind Dan Hardy at doing it. He knows what he's talking about. He's a veteran in the game. He's made it out of the game. I don't know what his experiences are with, like, you know, weird headaches as he takes a shit or something like that, but little to no CTE. As far as I'm aware, you know what I mean? I'm not noticing anything in his speech pattern that's in any way weird. He's very clearly spoken. He's clean cut. He's like a good look for TV. You know what I'm saying? He's very presentable. And he's good at talking, good at communicating, good at breaking things down because he's a coach. So his natural mindset when watching footage of a fight is to then break it down to people who need to know about it. So I think it's perfect to translate that skill of breaking down things that he's noticing in people's games to an audience that needs to understand that as well. And I would just love to have a James Krause corner on the Contender Series. Because after watching him on that show, like, James Krause was the next best thing behind Dan Hardy. And no one will replace Dan Hardy on that show. But when you combine James Krause's knowledge of betting, because he bets every week on fights, and he's usually successful. I don't know what the ratio is, but I know it's not 2-18. I know it's not 2-18. So if the UFC want people to make money, they would get James Krause on. Why would they choose the most annoying person to listen to, who consistently loses everyone their money every weekend? Because I'm starting to believe, maybe, that the UFC and the betting companies are a little bit closer than we once imagined they would be. Because why on earth else would you have a show called Betting Advice in the middle of Contender Series where everyone loses their money every week? Unless you wanted them to. You make the move, UFC. Get the weirdo out. Get James Krause in. I would much prefer to show with James Krause in that segment instead. No annoying voice either. And no annoying teeth. And no fake tan. And actually knows what he's talking about. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Toodle pip, I'll see you later. Goodbye.